Ba-na-na. Boom. Four quad special today. Look at that. Well, the slide wasn't as cool today.
It wasn't as good. The Collimer slide was not as good today. You need to work on that. Yesterday was really good. Today was kind of a mess.
Thank you. I'll get better. Everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review. As you can see, we got an extra box today. Our friend Doug McKain joins us. You all know him from Dodgers Nation and, of course, host of the Dodgers Dugout, which, we'll let Doug kind of give him the red carpet and show us where you can find all that. But, Doug, first off, how are you doing, man? It's great to see you again.
I'm doing good. I think that Possum just hit another home run off of Brent Honeywell. I mean, interesting game yesterday. You had Possums, you had Kersh, you had unfortunate injury to Brusdar Graterol, but always excited to talk Dodger baseball with you guys, man.
Yeah. So you guys were both at the game. And, of course, thank you to Marcus for joining us from the NFL offices out there. So shout out to you for being there, even when you're off away. We love that. So, again, as I mentioned, both Doug and Greg were at the game. Greg, you had something you wanted to get into before we talk baseball. Before we get into anything, someone was giving you troubles?
No, it wasn't giving me troubles. Why don't you tell us about LAX, and we'll go from there.
That's right. Our friends at LAX, of course, sponsor here at the Blue Review at Los Angeles International Airport. Changes are arriving daily, saving guest time, just transforming the travel experience. So if you want to learn more, head over to flylax.com/transforminglax, guys. That's flylax.com/transforminglax. What's going on, Greg? What happened at the game?
So I just want to know if I'm the a-hole in this. I didn't do anything. I didn't talk to the person in front of me. Nothing. I just want to know if this annoying me is legitimate or not. And Doug and Marcus, you can tell me. Oh, and of course Parker. So normally, a lot of times you go to baseball games and there are women that are taking pictures and selfies and doing all that stuff, and that's just what happens. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But this was a dude that was sitting in front of me, and he was sitting there, and he had an Ohtani jersey on, or a Ohtani shirt on. It said Ohtani in Japanese, and so he seemed like, okay, I'm a fan. He was sitting there, leaned back with his phone up the entire time, scrolling Instagram and Facebook the entire game, from the start of the game through the ninth inning, scrolling Instagram and Facebook, barely looking at the game, and it just was very frustrating to me. Am I in the wrong for being annoyed by this? We'll start with Doug.
That hurts. I mean, it almost feels like the new comedian specials when you go see Dave Chappelle, they make you put your cell phone in a black bag and you get to pick it up after the game. Sometimes you kind of wish you would see that at a baseball game, because I'm with you. It happens all the time. And to your point, he's wearing an Ohtani jersey. It's not like he was someone who was just dragged to the game, nope. Right? Clearly this is a Dodgers fan. Clearly this is an Ohtani fan. I don't know what he was scrolling for, especially you got the Phillies, Dodgers, and NLCS preview. Ohtani's actually playing in that game. It's a Kershaw day. We got to savor every single Kershaw day. So I'm with you. That's super annoying to me. You wonder what it was about. I mean, did he break up with a girlfriend and he's just trying to get the latest? You know how you can frantic scroll when things like that happen? Is she on a date or something? So I'd tap on his shoulder and try to ask about the situation. Maybe it would give you some clarity.
No, I did not tap on the shoulder. I did not speak to him. I didn't say hey, what are you doing? I just let him do what he wanted to do. But at the same time, it was just come on, man. There's a baseball game in front of you, Mark. It's I don't know. That's a little bit too much for me.
No, I think it's a little bit too much, right? Especially for the whole game, right? And he's not hey, let's check in every so often and see. Did he even look up when Ohtani came to the plate?
No, the entire game. I mean, he might have looked up every once in a while, but then you could see he would it's on Facebook, and he would click, and his phone was up too. It was just here. This is how I'm doing this now. I'm going to be talking.
He wanted you to participate in the scroll.
He wanted me to see what he was looking at and what women he was looking at on Instagram and clicking on different people on Facebook.
Was he zooming? Did you see him doing the pinch zoom? Because that's a little much.
No, there was no pinch zoom. There was no pinch zoom. But
I think in this instance, Greg, you're not the a-hole.
All right. I mean,
baseball games are an event. It's the America's pastime.
You pay money to be there. At least participate a little bit.
Yeah. Come on.
That's a great point. I mean, pavilion seats are going for over 100 every single night. I mean, it ain't cheap, especially that matchup. So that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Jeez. So whatever. Let them do what they're gonna do. But it was just I'm come on, man, watch the game. Come on.
Well, let's talk about what he missed.
Yes. Yeah, he missed a lot.
Of course. Kershaw on the bump. It was a Kershaw day. Honestly, I feel a very encouraging performance. I'll go ahead and let you take it away. What did you see from Kershaw last night in his, he nearly went 5. He could have probably went through. but I'll let you react.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he absolutely, like you said, very encouraging. He could have stayed out there and faced one more hitter. Did go 4 2/3 innings, but the most encouraging part was the swing and miss was back. I mean, his last start against the Padres goes 3 2/3, drained the rate just 2 swings and misses on 83 pitches. He snapped that streak of 423 career starts where he had at least one strikeout. Well, he was able to get 5 strikeouts in that one. So I think the big thing for me was the fastball command. I mean, it was 16 for 19 on first pitch strikes. It was setting up that slider, it was setting up that curveball, and you saw an increased usage of that curveball, and it was going to it throughout, and it was huge. I mean, he struck out Schwarber with it. He struck out Sosa with that splitter later in the game. So I think you heard about the adjustments they made to his delivery, and yeah, just a little tweak here and there. He was just more confident, and when he has the command, he can go out there and be effective. We saw that yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on that. Like, I thought he looked, the best that we've seen him in a while. Yeah, I know there was some concern about what happened the last couple of starts, but it seemed like Doug mentioned, the breaking ball was working. He had guys off balance the whole time. He was getting ahead in the count. So it was I won't say a vintage Kershaw start, right? Because those days are gone, but I think it's about the best kind of start we could expect out of him, especially at this point in the season. I would hope they're able to build him up a little bit. I know what the pitch count's still right around 80 or so, but I think they got everything they would have wanted out of him. Then the offense really didn't hit yesterday, but credit Phillies pitching for sort of keeping them down a little bit. But I think there was a lot of positives out of Kershaw.
Yeah, that start could have gone very much different ways. I was very worried about this start in general because he had not looked great in the last one, and he really didn't look amazing in the first start. I mean, obviously it was the first start back from the worst injury he's ever had. So, but he had swing and miss in that first start with nothing in that last start. So if that could have, and especially against this lineup, this Phillies lineup that can hit, that he was able to pitch like that, I was very, very encouraged with it. I was terrified. I know, Doug, you were terrified too, that if this was a bad outing, this could have been one of the last outings that he ever has, period. But he showed that that's not the case. I love the swing and miss. I love the fact that he was keeping off balance and that he went almost 5. He was 1 strike away from getting through 5 completely untouched. It was a very, very encouraging start against a good team that really gives me a little bit of hope moving forward that he can kind of get close to maybe not, obviously, like you said, Marcus, not the pitcher that he once was, but that he could be someone that can be useful down the stretch and possibly into the postseason. But I don't know about you, Doug. That was very, very exciting for me to see him like that.
It was extremely exciting just because, look, you saw that he can still compete and get big league hitters out and pitch at a high level. And that's exactly what you need for your number 4 starter, right? I mean, they're not asking him to be their game 1 starter anymore. They're not asking him to be their game 2 or game 3 starter if Yamamoto is healthy. So he is out there to prove that he's not done. Right? And I think you bring up a great point, Marcus, is it's not vintage Kers, right? You're not seeing elevated 95 up in the zone 94 and just going 7-8 innings with 10 to 13 strikeouts. That's not what you're going to get from him, but I think you can't get classic Kershaw, right? I mean, that's Kershaw classic yesterday. I think the current version is someone that can go out there, give you 5, maybe 6 innings of 2-run ball. Hopefully those 2 runs come off of solo home runs and things like that. And you have this potent offense that's led by Shohei and you have Teoscar Hernandez, right? The offense that he has today is a lot better than the offense that he had when he was at his peak. So you don't need the Cy Young, the 3-time Cy Young MVP Kershaw at this stage of his career to be able to help this team.
No, absolutely. And he did what he also did is he helped save the bullpen. The fact of the matter is he would by going deeper into the game than we expected, he got through almost 5. Joe Kelly pitched 1, and then they just let Brett Honeywell die out there for the last 4 innings.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what he was there for. So
you're the turtleneck.
Yeah, the turtle. I never understood that turtleneck. Even when it's like 100 degrees outside, he throws on the turtleneck. But either way, the fact is that you saved the bullpen for one day, and that was very, very much needed because Hudson was not going to pitch again. He had pitched 3 of the last 4 days. A bunch of other guys were not going to pitch at all. So the fact was, you helped the bullpen, and by him going a little bit longer, Marcus, it really helped in that sense.
Yeah, which, right now, I think if you are a starter in this rotation, you have 2 goals, right? I mean, one, is to obviously go out and pitch well, put the team in a position to win the game, but two, try to get some length, because this bullpen has just been worn down over the last couple of months. And, it's nice that there is some help on the way. I mean, at some point we got to get to the sadness that was Brusdar last night, but, help seems to be on the way. But in the meantime, you just have to try to, push as far as you can, get deep into games as possible, because they can't keep running out Daniel Hudson 3 out of every 4 days. They can't keep running Alex Vesia out as often as they can. So the more you can get your starters into the 6th inning, maybe beyond if you're fortunate, then I think the better off this is going to be for August and September.
All right, so let's get into that, Doug, real fast. Let's get into that, Doug. Let's get into the Brusdar Graterol portion of it, that he comes back and then he finally gets back and he hurts himself on the second batter with a hamstring injury. It's probably the end of the season for him, and it's really sad. They are going to bring up Michael Grove. Talk to me about what you saw from Graterol, what those thoughts are, but also the fact that forgot what I was saying. So just talk to me about Graterol, because I forgot what I was going to go to next.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Brusdar Graterol, I mean, I was saying for the last couple of weeks, is the return of Brusdar Graterol could have had the level of impact that the Padres trading for Tanner Scott had. I mean, that's how good Brusdar Graterol was last season. He had a 1.20 ERA. He had the best expected ERA, even better than Ryan Brazier and Evan Phillips last season. And he was riding a 25-inning scoreless streak heading into this season. So he had really unlocked some things last season. Everyone criticizes him for saying, he doesn't get the big strikeouts, not a lot of swing and miss, and it's really confounding because of the high velocity. The truth is, though, he misses bats and he induces soft contact, and he had really mastered his attack last season. So really was hoping to see him paired with a Michael Kopech, really a gasser out of that pen. Michael Kopech leaving the White Sox with the Dodgers. He's been great. It was like getting on the last lifeboat off the Titanic, getting to the Dodgers from the White Sox. And I was excited to see that pairing towards the back end of this bullpen, but it's unfortunate. Throws 8 pitches, goes down with the grade 3 hamstring. I mean, if you want to be extremely Michelada half full and very optimistic about it, maybe you could say if you get deep into the World Series, maybe he comes back. But I think at this point, it's safe to say, considering the severity of a grade 3 strain, that his season's going to be over.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate for him, especially having worked so hard to get back, and then literally 8 pitches into the season, it's all over again. And last night when I saw a hamstring strain, I immediately started Googling, like, how long does it take a hamstring strain to heal? Obviously the grade 3 being the most severe, it seems pretty unlikely that he's going to be back this year. So it does sort of fall on everyone else to kind of pick up the slack, and it sucks for him. It stinks for the team. It especially stinks that it happens right after the trade deadline, so you can't go add that other piece. So I guess the best wishes for Brusdar. Hopefully he comes back healthy next year. But in the meantime, nobody else is going to feel sorry for the Dodgers. They got to pick it up and kind of keep running with the flag.
Yeah, and with that, they brought up Michael Grove, so that's a big piece that they want to him back. I don't know how I feel about Grove. Every time I've seen him, he was at the beginning of the year, he was a 3-inning pitcher is what they wanted him to be. He wanted to be the right-handed version of Ryan Yarbrough. So you have Ryan Yarbrough going left and Michael Grove going right and going those 3 innings. It seemed as though, especially at the beginning of the season before he got injured, it was 1 inning. The 1 inning that he pitched, he was very, very good. And those 2nd and 3rd innings just didn't really work out for him. He got hit up a little bit. So what do you see him as, Doug? Is he a 3-inning pitcher as they want him to be, or is just the 1?
I think really he's better in short bursts. I mean, you see it when he's out there. If you give him 1 inning where you can go out there, empty the tank, he said, I talked to Michael Grove about this, the difference between the routine of a starting pitcher, the routine of someone that goes out to throw multiple innings versus someone that can just go out there and just unleash it. And he said it's exhilarating, and it's a different feeling and a different mindset. So I think that he's best served to be more of a short burst guy. I could see him going 2 innings. But ideally, I think Michael Grove has really managed to be underrated as far as above average strikeout guy, above average when it comes to limiting hard contact, throws that slider predominantly, and that's really what they've tried to get players and pitchers like Michael Grove to do. So, I think for him, he still has to prove that he can earn a spot in this bullpen. I don't think that they're locked into Michael Grove. They're certainly going to evaluate him for the rest of the season, because you kind of look at the back end of this bullpen. There's a lot of guys that could make it in. I think that you look at someone like Brent Honeywell, for example. I don't think that he's going to be on this team much longer.
No.
He'll ultimately be DFA'd at some point. He doesn't have any options. And then Anthony Banda, right? Alex Vesia has been one of their best relievers this season, their best high-leverage lefty reliever. But Anthony Banda, who is probably in that same tier of a Brent Honeywell type, a Johan Ramirez type, that you say, okay, maybe he's just temporary, but he's continued to perform, throws 97, has that wipeout slider. We know that plays up in the postseason. So really my point is that it's going to be competition for those last couple spots in the bullpen for the rest of the year.
So I'm wondering, though, and Doug, I mean, maybe you have an insight into this. If they don't see a guy like Michael Grove as a 3-inning guy, is there somebody that's currently there that can fill that role? Because, I mean, from what we have seen of the Dodgers the last few postseasons, that's become a very important, necessary position to fill. I mean, is there somebody currently in that bullpen that can do that?
I mean, if you look at the crunch for the 13 spots for the pitchers in the postseason, I mean, look at the locks. Glasnow, Yamamoto, Flaherty, Kershaw, Gavin Stone, that's already 5 starters right there. And then Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech, Blake Trine if he's healthy, Daniel Hudson if he's healthy, Joe Kelly. You're already up to 10 pitchers. Alex Vesia, you're already at 11. You got 2 more spots. Ryan Brazier, who was outside of Evan Phillips and Brusdar Graterol, certainly was one of their top 3 relievers last season. They brought him back on a contract for a reason. He's pitched well so far in his rehab stints. They have every single indication that he is going to come back and at least be able to perform. So they have high hopes on him. So if that's 12 spots, means you got Anthony Banda, Michael Grove, River Ryan, who might have the best stuff in the entire organization when he's right, and then Walker Buehler. What do you do with Walker Buehler, right? Do you make Walker Buehler someone who is a short burst reliever type if he can't figure it out as a starter, or do you leave him off the postseason roster? So they definitely have some guys. I definitely talked about this before the show. Edgardo Henriquez. I had someone down in OKC after Brusdar Graterol went down text me and say, Edgardo Henriquez, they should just bring him up. Because what I was told was special plays up in the postseason, right? Special arms, guys that can hit triple digits, guys that can dominate hitters. We've seen it on the wrong side for this team for the last couple of years, because usually it's the Dodgers, and whether it be the Braves in 2021 with guys like AJ Minter. Dominance plays up in the postseason. And, hey, with the way the injuries have occurred to pitchers, might as well use those bullets while you have them. So would they do something that radical down the stretch? Maybe they would, but certainly they do have some options to turn to. But Brusdar is a major blow, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that Henriquez guy is throwing 104 miles an hour. So if he wants to go out there and throw 104 in the postseason, I think everybody will be okay with that. Would you
guys be down with that? Like just throwing a guy in this? I mean, the team that has the highest expectations of any team. Honestly, you can make the case in professional sports right now to throw a guy like that. I mean, the benefits, he's a complete unknown to opposing hitters as well.
Yeah. So it could, I mean, give it a shot. Bring him up at least at the end of August, beginning of September, see what he's got, see if he can actually get out major league hitters, because he's got to be able to find the strike zone. We've seen guys that can throw 104 and just are wild and all over the place. So he has to be the opposite of that. But what's funny, when you're naming all those guys, you did not even mention Bobby Miller and you did not mention Justin Wroblewski. Those are 2 guys that could also factor into everything we're doing here. So, and then also, Gavin Stone has been a guy that for the last about month and a little and change has been a average to below average pitcher. He is not going deep into games anymore. He's going 3-4 innings for the most part. He's giving up 4 or 5 runs most starts. I think he's given up 17 earned runs or 18 earned runs in the last 5 games. That's not what you want to get out of these starting pitchers right now. So it's going to be really exciting is what I would say. But over this next month, just in August alone, you're going to get back all these guys. You're going to get, hopefully Yamamoto comes back. Mookie's going to come back. Muncy is supposed to be coming back. Everybody's going to be fighting for their lives on this team right now. And whoever can just step up and be good enough to play, like Nick Ahmed, is he going to be someone that sticks around? Like I think there's going to be a lot of battles that are going to be won in this month of August.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Gavin Stone. I think that's one of the most intriguing ones of them all is where does he fit as far as this picture? Do you throw him into the bullpen? Do you use him as a starter? Because like we said in the first part of the show, really, Kersh has to start for you to play a role on this team. But Gavin Stone has definitely hit a little bit of a rookie wall. Since that 9-inning scoreless shutout in Chicago. He's gone 22 and 2/3 innings. He's given up 18 runs on 39 hits, 6 walks, and 17 strikeouts. First 15 starts of the season, he allowed 6 home runs. Last 5 starts, he's given up 7 home runs. So look at those numbers right there. It kind of tells you you're starting to see him trend in the wrong direction. Maybe he gets a little bit of a phantom IL stint, a little bit of a respite somewhere to kind of get him fresh and energized. You mentioned Bobby Miller and Robleski. Bobby Miller trying to get things right at the minor league level. Robleski absolutely is a dog who I think if you see them sustain an injury, he's one of the first guys I think that they turn to. They did not want to trade him at the trade deadline. But yeah, all these position players too. I mean, you got Miguel Rojas is going to return. Nick Ahmed, I think, ultimately will be DFA'd. I think you'll see them DFA. I think you're going to see them DFA Brent Honeywell, who we talked about. And I think you'll see them option James Outman and Andy Pages ultimately.
Agreed.
I mean, the big question is you traded for Kevin Kiermaier, who there's no doubt about it. Defensively, that gives them their best defensive center fielder. But then you also traded for Tommy Edman, who's above average in center field as well. And Kiermaier just can't hit, unfortunately, at this stage of his career. But, I mean, you traded for the 34-year-old player that has already said he's going to retire at the end of this season. Do you really DFA him, right? I mean, so there's going to be a lot of tough questions. And I think the good thing for Kike Hernandez, someone that could have been headed towards probably missing out, has played really well and performed at the plate and has plugged in a lot of defensive holes for them, has really solidified his spot, it looks like. And yeah, you got Chris Taylor with the groin injury. They're still trying to nurse. He's made steps in the right direction. Max Muncy, since seeing that chiropractor, I don't know what chiropractor it was, some magical chiropractor out there. He's
that he didn't go to a month ago.
So, yeah, hey, it's a good problem to have. But some guy, there's like, I'll say this, there's going to be one player, whether it be a Walker Buehler, right, or Jason Hayward or a Kike. I mean, one of these players, there's going to be some player that's not going to be a part of this mix that you're going to be like, wow, like that's a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting too. You talk about guys like Kike. I mean, Gavin Lux was a name that, you know, a couple of months ago we were talking about, is he on the trade block? And I don't know if it's that internal pressure of seeing kind of how things are shaking out, knowing that the numbers game might work against them. But these guys have really stepped up. And so maybe that is a blessing in disguise. Nobody wants injuries. Nobody wants to play shorthanded. But I do think the silver lining here is that it has caused a lot of guys to step up and perform where they might not have otherwise had the opportunity, or might not have otherwise had, I won't say the incentive, but, you know, whatever. Kike is playing well. He's kind of forcing a hand to get a spot on the roster. Gavin Lux has been one of this team's best hitters for the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, it's positive. It's a good problem to have, right? You get Mookie Betts back. You get Miguel Rojas back. Now, all of a sudden, you might have too many guys for not enough spots. I think that's a great spot to be in headed to September.
Yeah, I think that Miguel Rojas certainly is going to provide depth, and he can do that at multiple positions at an elite level as far as what he does with the glove. They've already indicated that Mookie Betts is going to be back at shortstop. I've been saying it for weeks now that every time I go to cover a game, I only see Mookie Betts working at shortstop, and that to me was the full indication that he was going to remain there. See fans freaking out about it, but what I will say is it doesn't feel like the front office is hell-bent on putting him back in the outfield. And I think, one, you preserve his legs, you allow him to stay healthy, and you get what you can from him at the plate, which is a top 5 to 10 hitter in the sport. And then two, you don't lock those outfield spots. I think that's one thing that I think that a lot of people are really mentioning is if you put Mookie back in right, well, then you got the corners locked with Teo in left and Mookie in right. And then you don't have the optionality. That's the buzzword they like to use when it comes to interchanging some of those players out there. I think ultimately you're going to see an outfield mix of Teo in left, Edman in center, and then Mookie in, and then you'll see them change around with a Jason Hayward in right, and then Mookie at short. So basically you're getting a boost defensively with Tommy Edman in center, even though you'll have a little bit of an average shortstop with Mookie at short. But I will say he's made some mechanical adjustments, man. The throw has looked better. I think he's out to prove that he can play shortstop at this level, so I'm not overly concerned about it. And as you mentioned, Gavin Lux, I mean, it's amazing how his season has turned around. Literally weeks ago, it looked like he was getting ready to speak OKC, right? That he was going to get optioned down to Oklahoma City, and he basically did the reverse Vargas tanking his trade value so he didn't get Vargas and exiled to baseball hell in Chicago. And you're right. I mean, he literally has been one of the hottest hitters in the sport. He's been 67% above average overall offensively since the beginning of July. He's been 15% above average since the beginning of June. So it's not like this is just a couple games at this point. We've seen a long enough sample size to know that his uncle Augie back in Milwaukee changed some things for him, and he's been unlocked. And it's definitely a great thing that you need to keep him at second and then Mookie at short, and hopefully this team can plug in defensively in other areas.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it tomorrow because we do got to go. Thank you so much, Doug and Marcus. We'll talk a lot about Mookie and where he should be and right between right field, shortstop, all of that. But go ahead, Parker, take us away so we can get to Travis and Sliwa.
That's right. It's going to be great to see who steps up and who ends up doing what and where as we get into this next week as everyone becomes healthy, So we'll see where this Dodgers squad is heading. Doug, thank you so much. Roll out the red carpet for you real quick. Where can we find your stuff? Where can we find your socials?
You can follow me at DMAC_LA. You can watch my show Monday through Friday on Dodgers Nation YouTube, Dodgers Dugout Live. By the way, Mom, if you're watching this is not the big ESPN. Like I was telling before the show, every time I tell my mom I'm on this show, she turns it to ESPN, then tells me it's still Sports Center on right now. So, yeah, look, just so you know, don't get disappointed. This is ESPN LA, which is just as good and just as big to me. But I appreciate you guys always having me on. Love talking Dodger baseball with you guys, and talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you to LAX. Thank you to Greg and Marcus. I've been Parker Bell. We will be back tomorrow, 9:30 to 9:55. Stay tuned. Travis and Sliwa up next. Thank you very much.